Hi, my name is Natalia and I'm a marketing and sales assistant at the Edinburgh Newtown Cookery School. And although I'm not a professional chef, I do have a huge passion for cooking, so I decided to chip in and show you my favorite recipe for cinnamon buns, which is very, very exciting. I feel like everyone loves cinnamon buns or a variety of them, so we'll have some fun today. What you're going to need for the recipe is 530 grams of strong flour. At the moment, because we've got a bit of a shortage of flour in the shops, I've got plain flour, which should work absolutely fine. We've got 250 milliliters of milk. It's lukewarm, but be sure that it doesn't exceed 40 degrees Celsius because it will kill off the yeast, which we'll need in a moment. We need half a teaspoon of salt, melted butter, which is 100 grams. I've just literally melted it before we started rolling. And we need 7 grams of cinnamon, 90 grams of sugar, and 25 grams of yeast. I've got fresh yeast in here. If you don't have fresh yeast, you can substitute for 12 grams of dry active yeast. And if you're using dry yeast, skip 2. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make a bit of a pre-dough, a bit of a starter. So what we need first is the 250 grams of yeast. So I'm going to just crumble it into a smallish jar. Perfect. So we need 15 grams of sugar. Then we're going to pour over 1/4 cup of milk, which is approximately 62.5 milliliters. And I'm going to mix it until the yeast is dissolved. What I found is that mixing with chopsticks is very, very easy and useful if you've got chopsticks around. Perfect, so the yeast is dissolved and I'm going to add 30 grams of flour. And I'm going to keep mixing until I don't have any kind of lumps left and I've got a smooth mixture. So I've swapped my chopstick for a spatula, which will help me break down any lumps that formed in the starter. You put a cloth, a tea towel over it and put it in a warm place to rise for about 20 to 30 minutes. Great, so the mixture is nice and risen. It's actually overflowing a little bit. It's fluffy, it's got that nicely risen quality to it, so we're ready to start with the dough. So what I'm going to do now is add my mixture to the flour. If you're using dry yeast, you would mix that in with your flour at this moment. Perfect. See how fluffy it is. Okay, so I'm just going to mix that in with my flour. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, you just need to kind of roughly mix that in because we'll keep adding the other ingredients now. Great. So just pour in the milk. Half a teaspoon of salt, add the cinnamon, and I'm adding my sugar. Okay, so I'll roughly mix that in before I add the butter. Great, so it's time for the butter. Great, and I continue mixing with my knife until it's kind of roughly combined, and then I'll start kneading the dough. So I'm getting my hand in there, and I'm just kind of starting to combine all the flour that's at the bottom of the bowl, so I'm sure that it's all kind of nicely incorporated. Lovely, so when I've got that kind of roughly lumped in here, it just looks like this. I'm going to flour my surface just a little bit. So we're going to knead this dough until it's nice and smooth. It needs to be elastic, and just the purpose of kneading is to develop that gluten to give us a lovely result at the end. So 10 minutes and it should be absolutely fine. So the dough shouldn't be sticky at all. It should actually be smooth from the get-go. But if you find yourself struggling with kind of sticky hands, A great tip from Fiona, our principal at the Edinburgh Newtown Cookery School, is just to rub your fingers with some dry flour. She actually shared that tip during our hot cross buns video, so you can check it out now. All right, so the dough is done. It's been nicely kneaded. It's so smooth and soft. It's just elastic and just what we're looking for when we're making our buns. And I have to say, it just smells absolutely amazing. It reminds me of my time in Copenhagen. We'd kind of walk about and pop into some food markets, and they were the best buns I've had. So definitely something that you'll be craving if you try them in Scandinavian countries. So once we've got the dough ready, I'm just going to lightly dust my bowl. And I'm just going to pop that dough in there. I'm going to cover it with a slightly damp cloth and put it in a warm place for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to rise. All right, so now onto the filling, which is very, very important because this is what makes our buns so kind of juicy and amazing. So I've got 150 grams of butter in here. It's in room temperature so that it's kind of easier to work with. And I've got 130 grams of sugar and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. I'm mixing my cinnamon with cardamom just because I absolutely love the taste, but you don't have to do this. I'm kind of making a bit of a cinnamon cardamom bun, which is, you know, out of the ordinary, but you make it as you like it. So this is the most important part. So I'm going to add my sugar and add my cardamom and cinnamon. And I'm going to gently blend that, mix that. Great, so what you want is a nice fluffy mixture. Again, a nice fluffy filling. I think that's it. I think we've got it in here. What you basically want to do is just kind of mix it in, put it aside, and wait until the dough has doubled in size. Wonderful, so we've got our dough ready. It's risen absolutely beautifully. Just going to put that in there. Look at this. Oh, this is just incredible. I love that, and it just smells incredible. So what I'm going to do now is roll out the dough. So I'm going to just gently flour my surface. And we're going to fill it with our prepared filling. Be quite gentle when transferring this to the surface. And since I don't have a rolling pin actually, even though I absolutely love to bake, I just don't have a rolling pin. So what I've been using all this time is just an empty wine bottle. Of course, I've kind of, I've cleaned it properly. So this is my rolling pin for today. What we're aiming for at the moment is just a kind of a big rectangle. It's roughly 14 inches by 24 inches, something of that sort. It doesn't have to be precise, it's just to be able to kind of fold it. So let's start to roll it out. All right, perfect. So this is nicely rolled out and I am ready to fill it with the amazing butter and sugar mixture. So what you want to do is just basically spread it out very evenly, put big dollops straight away, or whichever technique you use. Basically what you want to achieve is a nicely kind of filled dough. All right, so on to the fun part. Once we have it all kind of nicely spread out very evenly across the board, what we want to do is fold it. So we're aiming for 3 folds. Going to start here, and kind of 2/3 in. All right, and then a second fold. And again, I'm going to sprinkle it with a bit of flour, turn it upside down, put some flour on top of it again, and we're rolling out again. I'm going to grab my pizza wheel, you can get a sharp knife as well, and I'm going to cut stripes, and these stripes, what I need is probably something like an inch thick, maybe a bit kind of more narrow, but it's really kind of up to you which bun formation you'll be choosing, which I'll kind of showcase in a moment. It's the fun part. The first way of kind of folding your buns is to grab one stripe, try and stretch it out a little bit, and then what you want to do is you put 2 fingers like that, you grab it, put it across, and you take your thumb out, and you kind of hold it like this underneath. So another way that you can form your dough is this way. So what you want to do with a strip, you're going to cut across, but not from the very top. You leave a bit, grab the strip, stretch it out a little bit, make sure not to kind of break it. So what you do now, you put it kind of across, you twist it a little bit, like this, and then you kind of twist it a little bit further. And what you want to start doing is kind of roll it inside, just like this. And then the very end of it, you kind of tuck underneath. So this is what it would look like. And the third way that you can do it is just basically a very simple kind of a snail type of a bun. So you basically just kind of fold it onto itself, and it creates a little rosette of sorts. So this is what it looks like. So whichever one you choose, have fun with it. This is something that you could perhaps maybe do with your kids, but it's a really fun kind of part of this. All right, and this is the last one. So what we want to do now is cover them for their second rise. So I'm going to just put a damp cloth over both trays and let them rise for about an hour. Again, they should probably double in size. Won't always be that way, but they will just sit here for 1 hour. I'll see you soon. Amazing, so ready to check on our buns. They've been rising for approximately an hour, and they should have increased in size by now. What I've done, I've preheated the oven to 220 degrees, and I'm going to bake them for approximately 8 to 10 minutes. They do have a lot of sugar, so be sure to check on them because they do tend to brown quite quickly. So I'm going to pop them in the oven now, and we'll see them when they're ready. Perfect timing. Oh my God, my favorite part, always. So these look absolutely amazing. What you're going to do now is just leave them in here to cool for a little bit, and then transfer them to a cooling rack so they cool off completely. But to be fair, they are amazing when they're still fresh and kind of hot from the oven. So once they've cooled down, what I'm going to do is glaze them a little bit with some sort of a simple glaze. And what I'll do, I'll sprinkle them with a little bit of pearl sugar. And if you'd like me to show you how I make my homemade pearl sugar, just let me know in the comments below and I'll share it for you in here. So thank you so much for watching. Leave a like below and comment as well if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to our channel for the latest recipes from the Edinburgh Newtown Cookery School, and I'll see you soon. Bye! This is the absolute best part. So look at that. This is so good. Seriously, just try them.